are fixed on the fallout and the outcome of the all-important Prime Minister Modi all-party J&K meeting that ended just a short while ago. It lasted 3.5 hours, 14 leaders from the state. The Prime Minister has given out a message of hope, peace and prosperity, but will it follow through and carry through into what happens next in Jammu and Kashmir? In his message, the Prime Minister told the assembled J&K netas, including Farooq Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti and others, that he wants to remove both dilli ki doori and dil ki doori, the distance of Delhi and the distance of the heart, both the political and the emotional distance between the two sides. The Prime Minister said that his government is fully committed to a democratic process in Jammu and Kashmir and that conducting polls is the government's top priority after the process of delimitation. He asked all the political leaders to keep national interest above political differences that have festered over decades in the past. The leaders from both Jammu and Kashmir said that the meeting was held in a cordial and constructive atmosphere. The Gupkar alliance leaders raised the issue of restoration of Jammu and Kashmir's statehood, which was lost after the abrogation of Article 370 in August 2019. While some leaders did raise the issue of Article 370, the centre refused to discuss it, citing that the matter is already in court. And remember, the government is already on record to say that returning or reversing the decision to abrogate Article 370 is not on the table whatsoever. Some of the reactions that came in right after that 3.5-hour meeting.
देखिए, बहुत ही अच्छे माहौल में बात हुई। मैंने जम्मू कश्मीर के हवाले से बात की। जो जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग इस वक्त कई तरह की मुसीबतें सह रहे हैं, बहुत मुश्किल में हैं, बहुत तकलीफ में है। जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग 2019 5 अगस्त के बाद गुस्से में हैं, नाराज हैं, जज्बाती तौर टूट गए हैं, बड़ा ह्यूमिलिएटेड फील करते हैं। मैंने उनको कहा कि जम्मू कश्मीर में जो 5 अगस्त 2019 को जिस अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल और इलीगल और इमोरल तरीके से 370 को हटाया गया, ये जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों को कबूल नहीं है। जिस तरह से बीजेपी ने 70 साल स्ट्रगल किया 370 को हटाने के लिए, जो इलीगली हटाया गया, अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली हटाया गया, हमारी जमात जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली, डेमोक्रेटिकली, पीसफुली स्ट्रगल करेंगे, चाहे महीने लग जाए या साल लग जाए। हम जम्मू कश्मीर में 370 बहाल करेंगे, क्योंकि ये हमारे आइडेंटिटी की बात है। ये हमें पाकिस्तान से नहीं मिला था, ये हमारे मुल्क हिंदुस्तान ने, जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल ने खुद हमको दिया था। और जो जम्मू कश्मीर की आइडेंटिटी है, हमारे जॉब से, हमारी लैंड है, हमारा डोमिसाइल है, ये सारा सिक्योर करता है। इसमें कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं होगा।
जम्मू कश्मीर को यूनियन टेरिटरी का दर्जा दिया गया। वो यूनियन टेरिटरी जो है वो वहाँ, चाहे वो जम्मू के लोग हों, चाहे वो कश्मीर के लोग हों, वो इस यूनियन टेरिटरी को बिल्कुल नहीं पसंद करते हैं। वो चाहते हैं कि फौरी तौर जम्मू कश्मीर को दोबारा रियासत का दर्जा दिया जाए और पूरी तरह से रियासत का दर्जा दिया जाए। कोई हाफ हार्टेड स्टेट नहीं, इसमें फुल स्टेटहुड विद J&K cadre restored to J&K, not UT cadre, not any other cadre. J&K must be restored its full statehood and must be restored its own independent cadre.
प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बैठक में 2 बड़ी बातों पर विशेष जोर दिया। उन्होंने कहा, जम्मू कश्मीर में लोकतंत्र को ग्रास रूट तक ले जाने के लिए हम सबको मिलकर काम करना होगा। दूसरा, जम्मू कश्मीर में ऑलराउंड विकास हो, हर इलाके, हर समुदाय तक विकास पहुँचे, इसके लिए साझेदारी हो और जन भागीदारी का एक माहौल बनाया रखा जाए, ये ज़रूरी है।
ब्यूरोक्रेसी हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में निर्धारित है, ब्यूरोक्रेसी को क्या करना है और पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप को क्या करना है, जिसको पीएम ने स्वयं मांगा कि भाई ब्यूरोक्रेसी पॉलिटिशियन को रिप्लेस नहीं कर सकती। उनकी एक अलग सिस्टम है काम करने का और राजनेताओं का अलग है। तो इसलिए हम लोगों ने कहा कि भाई अभी इतने साल से चल रहा है, तो उसकी वजह से लोगों को दिक्कत आता है, क्योंकि जिस तरह से पॉलिटिशियन मिलता है लोगों से, उस तरह से तो ब्यूरोक्रेट नहीं मिलेगा।
Let's go straight across to India Today's Polami Saha, who's been tracking all developments in that meeting, as also the reactions that have been coming out. Polami, cordial, constructive, many positive words coming out, even from leaders like Mehbooba Mufti, who had said many different things attacking the government before this particular meeting. But it looks like there are going to be some very serious stumbling blocks going forward. The issue of delimitation, the issue of Article 370 and full statehood. The government has laid out its roadmap, but this one isn't going to be easy. The next steps are going to be difficult.
They're definitely going to be difficult because, like you mentioned, for instance, the subject of delimitation, we do know that Dr. Farooq Abdullah and other members of the NC, of the National Conference, two of them are among the 5 associate members of the Delimitation Commission. At the last meeting, which happened earlier this year, they did not attend. There are 3 out of the 5 they did not attend. The 2 others were from the Bharatiya Janata Party, Dr. Jitendra Singh and Jugal Kishore, who attended that meeting. Now, Omar Abdullah today, after the meeting as well, stated that as far as the delimitation exercise is considered, they consider it with suspicion in the way that the exercise is being conducted. We've heard from some Kashmiri leaders who believe that the exercise has already been, the Delimitation Commission has already got its task cut out by the centre. It has been told how many seats that need to be there as far as the delimitation exercise is concerned, going from 107 to 114, and then of course how they are to be divided on the basis of area, and otherwise clearly saying that this is the exercise that the Delimitation Commission should be doing. Why is it that it is only implementing it? So there are those who have raised suspicions about the exercise in itself, but today of course the government said that this is the exercise which is then eventually going to lead towards peaceful assembly elections and subsequently the restoration of statehood as promised in Parliament, which has also been stated by the Home Minister and the Prime Minister in today's meeting. So like you rightly point out, Shiv, it's going to be fraught with a lot of obstacles and stumbling blocks as the process moves forward. But yes, despite all of the reservations, some of the reservations which have been expressed by Omar Abdullah, by Mehbooba Mufti, for instance, they have come out saying that the 3.5-hour long meeting was held in a cordial environment where everyone had an opportunity to speak.
I don't think there was anyone who was going to say that everything was going to go down easy after this, that it would be all hunky-dory. Nobody ever had that expectation, but the details of what the next steps are going to be are absolutely crucial. I want to quickly get in a word also from India Today's National Affairs editor Rahul Srivastav, who's also been tracking these details very, very closely. Rahul, what is the sense that you're getting from the government? We've heard, a kind of tentative statement from the Minister of State and the PMO, Dr. Jitendra Singh. But what's the sense that you're getting? There are things that can be said on camera, but as we always know, in such complicated and delicate discussions, much is about body language, about the sense on the ground and the feeling one gets from these meetings. What are you picking up?
Shiv, a lot of water will flow down the Chenab and the Jhelams and the other rivers before what is that template of a success as far as government efforts is concerned. But if you rewind, India's calling card to the world has been that we are a democratic, electorally governed country. When Pakistan used to raise Kashmir, one of the talking points from India used to be that despite all the trouble, people of Jammu and Kashmir have participated in electoral exercises driven by the Constitution of India. And the last 2 years, that suspension of democratic exercises was creating a sense of pressure on the government, both domestically and outside. And that is why the Prime Minister initiated this dialogue. Actually, if you see, every political party went in with differences. 4 ex-chief ministers, several deputy chief ministers, leaders of Jammu, Kashmir, all political parties. They all had different opinion than the government. The fact is they came for the meeting. The Prime Minister, they flanked the Prime Minister and stood and posed for pictures.
Yes.
That's what is the important Kodak moment. That ice has been broken. They are not ashamed of standing or politically afraid of standing with each other. That bitterness which was there nearly 1 year back is gone. That's a positive. Then they said talk to Pakistan. Somebody said, Mahbub Mufti said, talk to Pakistan. Farooq Abdullah, Omar Abdullah, Ghulam Nabi Azad said, give full statehood before elections. They said, restore the faith and trust of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The government said, what we did on 5th of August 2029 has brought dividends. Let's think elections. Eventually, they have agreed to continue the engagement. That's a positive. Shiv, one important point. If there was to be a template that the Prime Minister wanted from this meeting, that is the Prime Minister saying that we are committed to holding elections for the assembly in the state like the DDC, and providing a timeline that all parties should participate in delimitation, and once the delimitation is over, there will be elections for assembly. That's perhaps a very, very important template and a message to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, India and the world.
Very, very important channel that has been established after, the negativity that has pretty much defined communication over the last couple of years. Thank you very much to Rahul and Polami for joining me on that. Because remember that in the last year, in the last 18 months or so, you've seen both the Gupkar members as well as the government, whether it is Amit Shah or others, attacking each other in public and saying very ugly things about each other in public, on social media, in sound bites on television. So that kind of animosity and hostility has paved way for a real substantive political channel between these two sides. And that's why the Prime Minister was saying Dil ki doori and Dilli ki doori must be bridged. The Prime Minister's big message, want to remove Dilli ki doori and Dil ki doori, the emotional and geographical distance that has divided the two sides. He says he's fully committed to the democratic process in Jammu and Kashmir. He says the holding of polls in Jammu and Kashmir is the government's top priority. Keep national interest above political differences was an appeal the Prime Minister made to the leaders, and said even one death in Kashmir is painful. Our collective duty, Narendra Modi said, is to protect the younger generation of J&K. And he said there is a need to give opportunities to Jammu and Kashmir's youth. So this encapsulates what the Prime Minister said today to the 14 leaders who had assembled. India Today has reactions of all the stakeholders. As always, the big newsmakers before the talks and after the talks were first, each one of them, on India Today.
So we just quickly get in a word from you. You just met with the Prime Minister. How was the meeting?
It was very cordial.
Okay.
And very dignified.
Okay.
We were all on the in agreement that we must work together for democracy and for promoting national cause and for the development of Jammu and Kashmir.
What did the Prime Minister have to say, sir? What is the way forward?
Prime Minister listened very carefully, and he said that he will consider that he is seized of the matter because there was demand for restoration of the state.
Restoration of state.
Yes, the demand was raised by quite a few people. That demand was raised. And
what did you raise? What was the issue?
This was a meeting called by the Prime Minister, and whatever we have raised is with the Prime Minister, and it's as a matter of propriety. I don't think I should speak about that, but it was, as Beg Saab said, held in a very, very cordial manner, and I think there was a lot of emotional bonding given what has happened in the last 2 years. And we came out quite positive that hopefully there will be some delivery for the people of J&K in the medium run and also in the short run.
What about the future? What did the Prime Minister say, sir?
Well, the Prime Minister,
जम्मू कश्मीर की जनता ने पिछले 35-40 वर्षों में आतंकवाद की बड़ी मार सही है, और प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी साहब ने जम्मू कश्मीर के जो लोगों की तकलीफों पर दिल से मरहम लगाने का काम किया है, और आगे भी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा कि वो दिल खोलकर जम्मू कश्मीर की जनता की सेवा करें।
किसी ने कटु शब्दों में इस प्रकार की बात नहीं की। लगता है कि जल्द ही डिलिमिटेशन के साथ इलेक्शन यहाँ पर करवाए जाएंगे, और सभी ने दर्द भरे स्वर से अगर कुछ कहा भी है तो मुझे लगता है कि सब सामान्य तरीके से जम्मू कश्मीर में डेवलपमेंट की बात चाहते हैं, जम्मू कश्मीर में इलेक्शन चाहते हैं। और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक विश्वास दिलाया है कि राजनीतिक से उठ करके हम सब जम्मू कश्मीर के विकास के लिए काम करेंगे।
सर, प्रधानमंत्री ने क्या कहा आप लोग?
प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा जो ही डिलिमिटेशन की प्रोसेस खत्म हो जाएगी, इलेक्शंस के लिए नेक्स्ट प्रोसेस शुरू हो जाएगी। और उन्होंने लोगों का सुना, और जब प्रधानमंत्री लोगों के दुख सुने तो उन्होंने कहा कि मैं जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों के साथ हूं और हमें उम्मीद है कि आगे अच्छा ही होगा।
बहुत अच्छी बात है, बड़ी खुल के बातें हुई हैं और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बड़ी शांति से, बड़े प्रेम से सारी बातें सुनी हैं और जम्मू कश्मीर में लोकतंत्र, देश की अखंडता के लिए, वहाँ की डेवलपमेंट के लिए हम सभी जो है इकट्ठे होकर आगे चलें, इस प्रकार की बात प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कही है।
But what does this roadmap actually look like? You know, the body language has been established, the channel has been established, but what is the roadmap? Because this is where the real difficulties come in. Ankit's with me here on the show. Ankit, the roadmap. Here's where the country really starts facing its challenges in getting that dilli ki doori and the dil ki doori together.
Absolutely, Shiv, and this is where the importance of Prime Minister's meeting today is going to be established. The ice has been broken. What next would be the question that not only people in Jammu and Kashmir are asking, but also the entire country. So what is the government of India's plan as far as Jammu Kashmir is concerned? The first thing is that there has been an assurance. Elections in Jammu and Kashmir are going to take place, but a timeline at least is that the delimitation process has to be completed before they can happen. Statehood of Jammu and Kashmir not being restored immediately or anytime soon. All that is going to happen in due course. In fact, if you look at the other developments, whereas the Prime Minister's message is concerned and the government's roadmap is concerned, there was no discussion. So elections will take place, statehood will come in time, but absolutely zero going back on the Article 370 issue. No discussion at all, because it is also a matter which is sub judice in the courts. Peace and development in Jammu and Kashmir is the key priority as far as the Modi government is concerned. The centre is also open to negotiations with mainstream leaders. So this is not the last meeting possibly that we have seen. Expect, Shiv, many more meetings in the days to come.
Many more meetings in the days to come will be absolutely key and absolutely necessary, because this is only an icebreaker after what has been nearly 18 months of negativity, and in some cases, Ankit, as you yourself have reported, open hostility as well. So this is a channel that has been established now. We'll have to see how it can be made a whole lot better. Prime Minister Modi has just tweeted some comments. His first on-record comments after today's meeting. The Prime Minister has tweeted, today's meeting was an important step in the ongoing efforts towards a developed Jammu and Kashmir. My priority is to strengthen grassroots democracy in Jammu and Kashmir so polls can happen at a quick pace. The Prime Minister tweeting out this important message just about an hour after that 3.5-hour meeting has taken place. Let's go and get our reactions. We've heard from the people who are at the meeting. Now the political template has been created. The bridge needs, the divide needs to be bridged. The Prime Minister has sent out an emotive message. All of the leaders who were at this meeting have said it happened in a cordial atmosphere, but there are issues that are going to be difficult to navigate. Gaurav Bhatia, national spokesperson of the BJP, Firdaus Tak, spokesperson of the PDP, Charan Singh Sapra of the Congress Party, Srishti Kaul is a well-known political analyst. Thank you, all of you, for being with me. Firdaus, if I could come to you first. Mehbooba Mufti, in one of her first comments when she came out from this meeting, said it happened in a constructive atmosphere, it happened cordially, she sounded positive as well. We all know that the real challenge starts now, Firdaus. Firdaus, you're on mute. Could you just unmute, please?
Yeah, sorry for that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Shiv, I think nobody of us will be denying the fact that this was the first outreach by the central government towards the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The political parties, the representatives which attended today this all-party meet, they were not there in their personal capacity, but they were representing the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They were representing the aspirations of Jammu and Kashmir. And I think none of us was expecting something big coming out of the meeting, that all the demands we will be projecting before the Prime Minister and before this meeting will be granted immediately. But I think this is a beginning, but it should be carried forward.
Very important. Gaurav, Firdaus says there were no big takeaways in the sense of any deliverables. Not that anyone was expecting any of the demands to be immediately adhered to, but the very fact that this positivity has been achieved after what has been months of, quite direct negativity. Pot shots have been taken from both sides, including by ministers as well, Gaurav. I think what has been achieved today is very, very positive. You and I both know, all of us on this panel know, Gaurav, that, jumping the gun and celebrating too early is always a mistake when it comes to J&K. But there is something to celebrate even mildly today, that this kind of meeting was even possible, that all of these people could sit in one room and talk.
Shiv, absolutely. So let me start on a positive note. Sometimes it's not the ultimate outcome of a meeting that is important, but the process is equally important. And I think there are two big takeaways from today's meeting. First is the commitment to the constitutional ethos led by Shri Narendra Modi, which gives out a strong message, Shiv, that maybe we have differences, but we are all equal stakeholders. And the process of dialogue will continue, even with our differences. The second big takeaway is the fact that how will we strengthen democracy? Elections are to be held, and there were talks about delimitation. So what does it show? It shows that this government, under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji, wants development in the state. It is concerned about the youth of the state, and youth and Kashmiris are the real future of our country as well as Kashmir. My next point would be just see that, there were political parties who were saying कि अगर Article 370 हटाया तो तिरंगे को कांधा देने वाला. But today, this meeting was held under the majesty of that very tricolor. The Constitution and the boundaries that it respects are the basic foundation of the talks. And that is very clear in today's meeting, and no external participation will be tolerated, because we will talk to the stakeholders, not to countries that are inimical to our nation and its interests.
Yeah, Charan Singh Sapra, there have been some Congress leaders who've sort of cast aspersions on these talks, saying that these were the leaders who were put under house arrest until very recently. They were called anti-national until very recently, and now they're talking. My counter to that in some ways would be, isn't that what progress is? I mean, there has been all this very thinly veiled animosity, in fact, open animosity between both sides. But isn't that, would you agree that that is precisely what, at least at the very basic level, such a meeting has achieved, to break the ice, try and put that bad blood and differences behind and move forward?
See, Shiv, today Prime Minister has spoken about Dill or Dilli ki doori.
Yeah.
I wish he could have taken this initiative 2 years ago, probably in 2019, when the entire thing was being discussed. I feel if this initiative should have taken in 2019, then probably we wouldn't have seen the elected representatives going behind bars, a curfew-like situation, or emergency-like situation in entire Kashmir. And even the Jammu Kashmir assembly was bypassed. We have seen that for 11 months there was no internet in Jammu and Kashmir. Had the Prime Minister decided to do what he's doing today in 2019, I feel it would have been better.
But you would concede that today is an achievement based on what has happened, because the people who are at today's meeting...
I have a question for him, Shiv, if I can ask him that, because I think
the reason I'll tell you why. Because the reason I'm saying it is the Congress is saying so, but the very people who are under arrest and the very people who were labelled in some way or the other as anti-national by people in this government are the very people who have now seen sense in coming and finding common cause with the Prime Minister. That is definitely forward progress, Charan.
See, number one, I would like to say better late than never. Number two, the Prime Minister and Bharatiya Janata Party, who was quoting these people, all these leaders as Gupkar gang and the Sargana of Gupkar gang or the leaders of Gupkar gang, today they are sitting, they are ready to sit with all those leaders only. But this situation could have been avoided. We would have done what we are doing today, which is in 2019 only. Situation would have been better. Which has been developed in the minds of people of Jammu and Kashmir.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Charan. I understand what you're saying. Srishti, how do you see this? You know, because it's true. What Charan says is right. But my counter to that somehow would be that that's what this all-party meeting was about. It is an acknowledgement of all the animosity and hostility that has preceded in the last 18 to 20 months since the abrogation of Article 370. And that is the reason why we need to focus on today's meeting, perhaps, and what comes after this, and not perhaps what happened before.
But who gave opportunity for this animosity? Who gave the opportunity? It was the Prime Minister and the ruling party who gave the opportunity.
Let's listen to Srishti call.
Yeah, hi Shiv.
Hi.
I have 3 points to make, and I completely agree with you. We have to, start afresh somewhere, and I think it was a good start. As usual, the meeting was expected. The demands raised by these political parties was at par with what central government was also saying. So at least, except for restoration of 370, everything is on table. Second, I have 2 more points to make. Second, I would say that it's a good step. The next step Prime Minister and the central government should do is invite regional organizations. There were a lot of resentment especially in Jammu regarding how, many political fronts, many, regional organizations of Dogras, of even Kashmiri Pandits and even West Pakistan refugees were not represented. Now, considering this was a political, all political party meeting, so they were our representatives. So I think next step should be to, talk more with, more people. Because I don't think even Prime Minister has visited J&K post 2019. So I think that should be the next step. Third, Prime Minister rightly said about doori, dil ki doori and dilli ki doori kam rehni chahiye. I think this should be, this should apply both to central as well as the parties from Kashmir. Because at least from Jammu, I can say there was never dil ki doori. Jammu to hamesha dil ke paas tha Delhi.
No, absolutely. So I take your point, Srishti, because there has been anger among groups in Jammu. Some of them have been protesting against what Mehbooba Mufti said, and they've also been wanting more representation at such talks. Yes. I take your point.
Jammu always gets sandwiched between Kashmir and New Delhi, so they have to.
I'm going to come back to that point. I'll come back to that point in a moment. We also have with us Muzaffar Shah, who's a leader of the Awami National Conference, who's live with us. Mr. Shah, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you. Your quick takeaways, sir. You were at this meeting as well. Your quick takeaways.
No. Well, you see, we have our 3 people there from the PAGD who are all former chief ministers. I'm an apex member, apart from being the senior vice president of Awami National Conference.
Yes.
I'm also one of the apex members of the PAGD, and we are the deciding people in PAGD.
Yes.
Hello. So
yes, go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
Hearing our fellow panelists there speaking.
Yes.
It is time to, not create any animosity or create any problem between the regions of Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir is a pluralistic society, and it has to stay as that. Now, today's meeting was a very welcome step, and lots of ice has been broken. And let me tell you, when you talk about 370 or 35A, we are neither anti-national, nor are we communal.
Okay.
In any case, and neither are we a Gupkar gang. We all were. What happened on 5th August 2019 was a very sad situation.
Okay, and that point.
And let me tell you,
and that point has been established at the meeting. I have another question for you, Mr. Shah.
1 minute. Let me finish, sir.
Yeah.
What was provided by the constitution of this country to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, that cannot be undone
Okay. This point was
merely an act of parliament.
This has been the stated position of all your parties so far, and it was of course insisted on in this meeting as well. I have another question for you. Let's talk about
as per the outlines that we had provided in our meeting just 3 or 4 days ago.
I have another question for you, because now comes the difficult task of navigating the differences and trying to align them. Mehbooba Mufti came out from this meeting saying that it was constructive. Before the meeting, she talked about the need to, bring in Pakistan as a stakeholder and talk. What did you think of that? Where was the need to bring Pakistan in on this? Why do we need to, even mention or invoke Pakistan when we need to sort this out?
I'll tell you something. Because, you see, I'm a part of the Gupkar apex body, so we took these decisions there. We welcomed this talk. We welcomed the initiative by the Prime Minister, and I heard the interview, a small bite of Mehbooba Mufti also, and then I heard Dr. Farooq also speaking on this matter.
He contradicted her, but he said we don't endorse that.
When you talk about what Mehbooba Mufti said about Pakistan and all, look, let me say, who does not want peace here? Everyone wants peace in the valley. In Kashmir, in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, we are having national security advisor level discussions going on between both the national security advisor level, India and Pakistan, and we have a good situation on the borders today, and borders are quiet. We have no issues, and we are happy. Now, Pakistan, when you if you sit with me here in Srinagar, it is just 90 kilometers away from me. If I go to Kargil, it is just 12 kilometers away. If I go into Ladakh, China is just 120 kilometers away. So this place is surrounded by these powers. And we have to have good relations with them if we want peace here.
Okay.
So when we say, hey, please speak with Pakistan, you have to engage with Pakistan at the level of both the governments of India and Pakistan. Who would not want that?
Okay.
Now, you cannot twist that into something and say, the minute somebody from Kashmir talks like that, and you dub him as an anti-Indian or a pro-Pakistani,
that certainly wasn't done by the government yesterday, nor was it done by the media.
That is absolutely not fair.
Not what happened yesterday, but it seemed like an attempt to maybe queer the pitch right before, because Ms. Mufti was also attacking the government on other fronts.
Particularly from our PAGD members, this meeting was very constructive.
Yeah.
And people have talked very openly. 370 has been talked. 35A has been talked. It has been made amply clear to the government of India, to the Prime Minister, that whatever you did on 5th August 2019 is unacceptable.
Gaurav Bhatia, would you like to add something on Mehbooba Mufti? She said one thing going in, but she came out saying things were constructive. Is this going to be an easy issue to navigate on Pakistan? You've heard what Muzaffar Shah said.
See, I have a few points to make. It is their view, they can say it is unacceptable. But the abrogation and amendment of Article 370 was done in a constitutional manner, and the matter is pending before the Honorable Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, in its wisdom, has not stayed the amendment. Now, we should leave it at that and have the highest respect for the Supreme Court. Second, I will like to make it very clear, nobody in the country has the right to say that Tiranga pakadne wala koi nahi hoga. That is unacceptable. There are 135 crore Indians which will always even give their life for the honor of our tricolor. Second, PDP said, and the MP had torn the copy of the Constitution of India. And we disagree in our democracy. You cannot say that the Constitution. Please,
Muzaffar ji, let him finish. I'll come back to you.
Polite enough to make my point.
Sure. Sorry. Please go ahead.
So that there's no crosstalk. Both of you will have time. Don't worry.
My apologies. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. The problem is not with a dissent. The problem is not with disagreement. The problem is when, to show that dissent, copies of Constitution are drawn. That is unacceptable. Second, Burhan Wani is hailed as a hero. Burhan Wani is a terrorist, will always remain a terrorist. We are proud of our army. So if you have your own contrary view, you respect that, and we have no respect for it. Third point, regarding Pakistan's interference, let me tell you, All this foreign relation under the constitution is the subject matter of the union government. So please do not advise the union government. We have very competent people advising the government. We will take a decision in the interest of the country, but this remains our internal matter.
Okay.
And thus we are discussing it.
Let
with
Muzaffar
the
Shah,
stakeholders.
let Muzaffar Shah answer that. Yeah, you've got 3 points on what you said, Muzaffar Shah. Respond.
Sir, the first thing I will tell you, we are raising this issue of flag. Let me say, the flag, the tricolor, has been flying here with respect and honor since 1947. There has never been any incident where any disrespect has been done to the national flag. Never, never, ever. So this narrative of the BJP is absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, when I earlier also said, what was provided by the Constitution of India cannot be, let me be very clear, cannot be unmade by an act of parliament. It cannot be done. It is the matter is lying in front of the Honorable Supreme Court. We'll wait for it.
Okay.
And the people here are looking for justice from the highest court of this country. The whole world is watching that.
Okay.
And justice will come.
Yeah.
So this is what was discussed today in the meeting, and we welcome this step that was taken by the Honorable Prime Minister today. And I am sure this is just the beginning, and some things that have been done
30 seconds left on the show, Gaurav. Yes, 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and remember that this is the first few steps of the
say,
next big steps after this meeting. So we need to weigh our words very carefully. Yeah, Gaurav, last 30 seconds.
Yeah, Muzaffar ji, I just want to remind you that all the powers that you derive from the Constitution, and Article 370 starts with the word temporary. It was a temporary provision, but nobody had the courage to actually applicate it. And Narendra Modi just did that.
Come on a show with me, and we will talk on the Constitution. You and me.
Anytime, it would be a pleasure to debate this out with you.
Let's today arrange that debate.
We will do that. We will do that because this story is not just about today's meeting.
What you're saying is absolutely wrong, my dear brother.
Okay. Okay.
About this temporary.
All I can say is I'm very happy that you're both addressing each other as brothers, which is a good start. Considering the way things have happened.
I wish we did it earlier. I wish you people did not call us the Gupkar gang.
No. All of that has been acknowledged on this show. All of that has been acknowledged on this show.
And I'm sure that matter has been put to rest.
No. The word Gupkar gang has been used by ministers and in this government. There has been hostility openly acknowledged here.
You talk about the constitutionalities of this place. You talk about the temporary issue.
Okay, I'm out of time.
Let us have a debate on the constitution vis-a-vis 370 and Jammu and Kashmir. The whole world will know what it is.
The fact is, okay, I'm completely out of time. I'm completely out of time. I have to wrap up this debate, but what we have established here is that the next few steps after this cordial, cooperative, constructive meeting that took place today by the Prime Minister are going to be difficult to navigate, to say the least. And what you've heard on today's discussion only demonstrate and affirms that. Nobody said it was going to be easy. It's going to be hugely difficult. Big forces playing one against the other. Unmoving opinions on issues of constitutionality, Article 370 and others. How are things going to move forward? That's the big challenge. Will the Dilli ki doori and the Dil ki doori be bridged as the Prime Minister asked for? We'll have to wait and see and cover every step. Thanks to all my panelists for being with me. Coming up next on Newstrack, sensational revelation in the UP conversion racket. There is